Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Estate with Ryan. Excited to be with you on a weekend. Always talking about real estate, our favorite topic. Always, right? Although it's back to the end, almost the end of August. It's hard to believe. Kiddos are back to school. Real estate market is in full effect. And as always, we're in the second half of the year, closing out, and we're less than 25 days to football time in East Tennessee. Amazing time to be. Fall is our best time. I really think fall is one of our best times. Hard to say fall, but if you guys are out and about shopping and you see the pumpkins and the Halloween, it's like, how is Halloween and fall here? It's right around the corner, and that's how quick this year's gone. And the real estate market is just like nothing else. It's going quicker than we can imagine. Feds do their thing. They do their normal thing, right? They meet, they talk, they do the same thing. The market's on edge. Seems like every Fed meeting we're looking for rates. So last time they didn't raise the rates, they didn't lower the rates, it did nothing. But the good news in the housing market, we've seen the last week that the rate's the lowest we've been in several years. Part of that's to the bond market. Federal fund rates not tied to, the housing market or interest rates per se, right? But so some of those expectations or kind of padded in points, the rates have kind of adjusted to the job numbers and things that have come out. And so that puts homeowners in a great position. I saw that our 15-year mortgage is under 6%, 5.99. I think on average right now across East Tennessee, we're looking at about 6.67 on conforming for a 30-year mortgage. And I've seen some of our FHA and VA rates are low 6.2, 6.4, somewhere in that range. So that's exciting to see. And there's a lot of anticipation moving forward for the, September meeting. But like anything, don't get caught on the news or watching what's going to go on. We're in the present. We're focused on the present, helping a lot of buyers and sellers in East Tennessee. And thanks for tuning in, as always. If you're watching for the first time or say, hey, who's that guy? What's the story about? What's the show about? We talk about housing in the East Tennessee housing market. Specifically today, we'll talk about the whole housing market across Tennessee, how it's affecting the state, some numbers, some data, always be helpful. And you can always find us on our local partners, News Talk 98.7 at 1 o'clock, where they're live on the radio every Saturday. And then our partners at Talk Radio 92.3 FM, 11 o'clock. Also catch us streaming on their social media Facebook page. You can catch us out there. And, of course, we're all over social media, YouTube, you name it. We're on X, Instagram, Spotify, iTunes, etc. So in case you missed the show, you can always find a rerun of Real Estate with Ryan. I mentioned that we got 25 days or less to football time in East Tennessee. Oh, it's going to be a great time. We'll talk about more of that in the second half, what we see in the season. We've got some ball updates, and we'll cover that. Let's talk about the housing market, some of the hottest topics that we'll see in today's market. Before we start that, always, we got some congrats, our new listings, and some closings from some great clients. Got 251 Moose Ridge Way in Pigeon Forge. Property there just listed. Another building lot in Kodak. How popular that is. Almost 2 acres. That's going on the market next week. Make sure you check that out. Congrats to our great sellers and buyers, all in one. 2805 Big Bend Drive in Maryville that close. And our great seller and builder on 174 West Meeting Street in Dandridge. Congrats on that closing. I know they're super excited to get that done. And keep in mind, as always, we'll keep you up to date with the latest news, real estate. That's why you want to tune in, Real Estate with Ryan. So we got some hot real estate topics here in the first section. We talk about the interest rates. We talk about the market. That's all great. But we're going to talk about how to handle and navigate the market. And really our show today is going to be talking about how to make an offer and negotiate in 2025. What's left of 2025? How do we negotiate and navigate this crazy market? Worked several deals this year, and they did not close for a combination of reasons. So I want to talk about one we just put back under contract, fell through, put it back under contract, got another one that's fallen through, going back, working on another offer, what we can do to be strong in negotiations, but also be able to accomplish our goal. Remember, a lot of people that we're helping are buying and selling homes. It's their forever home, or it's a new home, or they're first-time buyers. I put a statistic that was out the other day that said the younger generation, I'm not sure what generation that is. That's sad. Is it Z? Maybe it's Z. Don't hold me to that. But anyway, our younger generation, 35 and under, I think the numbers were staggering that they're purchasing their first home was like under 20%. And check me on that number. That number may not be exactly right, but I think it was in the 20s. So I'm pretty close on that. So less than 20% of our first-time buyers are buying homes. And why is that? Number one, affordability. And across the housing market, there's nothing affordable anymore, even first time. I remember we were looking for homes, it seems like not too long ago, and that a $200,000 or $250,000 budget in East Tennessee was decent. You could find a great starter home. When I first came to this area from another neighboring state, I thought the housing market, there was a lot of opportunities. I always kick myself if you're in the housing market. And a good friend of mine, he was big into the Sevierville Gatlinburg market. This was before the boom happened. And it was a tough market back in 08, 07. In the Sevierville housing market, it was challenging across the country, of course, during those times. But I remember a good friend of mine, and he was like, "Well, I'm going to own some cabins in the Smokies. I'm going to invest in the Smokies." So here's a key note moving forward in 2025. If you say that there's an opportunity, if you think there's an opportunity, believe in your opportunity, go do it. Some of those I wish I would have taken him up on. Some of those opportunities, of course, you never know. You got to, investing or purchasing real estate. A lot of it's you'll see that the real estate housing market, it's an emotional. If we're helping a buyer or seller, it's an emotional. It's a forever home. Maybe the wife has certain emotions, the husband has certain emotions. Maybe there's a time frame. It's a job transfer. We have to be by a certain time frame. So there's a lot that goes into it, and and it can be stressful. That's why they rank buying or selling a home is one of the most stressful things you can do. They rank it, I think, in the top 5. And so that makes it challenging to where the emotions come into play. And I don't know, I kind of lost my train of thought, but the emotions, don't let the emotions kind of get into play of purchasing or selling a home. But we go back to our first-time buyers and kind of getting back on that topic was, what do we do on the first-time buyers in the housing market where we're at moving forward? Hopefully that affordability will change. But as we strategize moving forward, I think we have to realize that we have to do things differently. And if you're going to purchase a home in today's housing market, right, you got to do it and get the best deal. So now more than ever, going over some numbers across the state, Tennessee's ranked number 26 in the nation from several different reports, but the average or median price, now this is all the state of Tennessee, $392,300. That's up about 0.98% since April 2025. Buyer's market inventory, this is interesting, across the state, 31,327. Average market time across the state of Tennessee is about 58 days in the market. And as I mentioned earlier, our interest rate, 30-year fixed, 6.67, and that's down 0.10% in the last week. Home prices have been pretty consistent, about a 5.3% year-over-year growth. And so that's good to see. Also, we're seeing about homes across the state, about 75 days on the market before going under contract. Let's talk about what we can do to negotiate in a different market. How's this housing market, and how can you put yourself in a position to be strong? We talked about a couple of those deals and things and transactions that we were working. And, I think the biggest challenge and why emotion plays a big role into it, there's the thing is, emotions not only just, right, buyer and seller, then there's agents involved. And then, oh, Lord, you get agents involved, and then there's emotion there, and then, it becomes a challenge. So we're going to walk you through this show, and we'll spend the second half of this show. I think it's important, really focusing on what we need to do to find your forever home in this market that's a little challenging. Yes, sellers, we know it may be sitting on the market a little bit longer. That's why we encourage getting the right agent to help you market the property the way it needs to be marketed, get the exposure that you need. I had a great for sale owner that we were chatting with the other day, and they were trying to sell theirs on their own and not really having the luck that we're needing. And we're going to partner together and kind of help them. But in this market, it's definitely challenging more than what we've seen in a while. And so teamwork, I always say teamwork for the dream work. Great teamwork makes it happen. And so our office is always here to help you in that time. Let's talk about a negotiation. We've got a few minutes, but we've got a break coming up here in a little bit. We're going to talk about how to make an offer on a house. What is the right offer to make? Strategy. Do we come in high? Do we go low? Let's talk about escrow. Repairs are big and everything like that. We got the second half, Real Estate with Ryan. Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
Knoxville and East Tennessee. The region is known for its rolling hills, rivers, and lakes. There's no better place to work, live, or raise a family. Home is where your story begins. Buying or selling your home is a big decision, and you need a real estate team you can trust.
I'm Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty, your hometown experts. Whether you're buying or selling a home, let us develop a winning game plan for you.
Hometown Realty is East Tennessee's #1 real estate group and a proud sponsor of the Vols.
I'm Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty. The real estate market's changing every day. You need to know your home's value in today's market. Text your home address to 290-2290 for an instant, no obligation home evaluation. That's 865-290-2290. And remember, when you're ready to sell, we have a guaranteed sale program to get you in your next home stress-free. Trust your hometown experts. We've helped thousands of people just like you. All right, we're back at it, Real Estate with Ryan, second half. Thank you for staying tuned. If you're tuning in for the first time, we're talking about how we're going to negotiate in the housing market in 2025, how to put your best offer forward, what you need to put in there, how do we leave the emotion out of it, whether it's your agent, whether it's the buyers, whether it's the sellers. We're going to talk about all that, so it's going to be a good segment. I'm going to try to get right through it. But before we get going, as always, we got our 60-second vol update. Drum roll, please. All right, you guys know first of all game is less than 20-some days out. It's hard to believe it's almost the middle of August. Oh, it's East Tennessee. It's football time, and we're ready. Make sure you like, share our channels, all our social channels. Just Google Hometown Realty, Ryan Coleman. Anywhere out there, you'll find it. Like, share, and subscribe. We're giving away tickets. By the way, we're sold out almost all home games. So we've got you covered. Hometown Realty, proud sponsor of the Vols. We're giving away 2 home tickets, parking pass, I believe. Check the post now, and then we give another 2 tickets out, okay? We're doing that for football and also men's basketball, women's basketball, right around the corner. So it's our busiest time of the year, something we like to do. We love seeing you guys. Look at our posts from last year. You'll love it. Make sure you know to be home for every home game. Let's see, August 30th, 12 p.m., Mercedes-Benz Stadium, first game. So versus Syracuse. You guys want to make sure we don't miss it there. Okay, all right. That is our 60-second Vol update. Hometown Realty, proud sponsor of the Vols. Go Big Orange. So much going on, but having fun. Let's talk about making an offer. If you're tuning in, make sure you reach us. If you need anything at all, our number is 865-693-SOLD. Easiest number in real estate. 693-SOLD, best number in real estate. If you need us for anything, we're always here to help. Let's talk about making an offer. How do we make it impactful? How do we get that forever home, Ryan? How do we negotiate in this market? I see the market sitting a little longer, days on market longer. Now it's time to negotiate. How do we do it without losing a deal? How do we do it without ticking the seller off? We're going to talk about that. First thing you want to do is preparation for getting your home on the market. Getting the home on the market, you make sure it's the right presentation. But buyers, you got to prepare for what? Prepare on your finances, right? Make sure you don't overpay. Get your lender letter. So when we find that forever home, when we find that house that just hit the market, a couple days in the market, then we're ready, prepared. So pre-approval is the first thing. You say, well, Ryan, I know that. I bought and sold homes. But I can't tell you how many times we have offers, and we know the buyers have no problems, or hopefully that there's no issues, or I'm working with a great colleague that we're working on a deal with, and I know we've done plenty of deals together, and they're going to be solid. They've done their homework, but we don't have that offer. Or how about the weekends, right? That happens. Bankers aren't working the weekends. We're out working and get an offer, and time's of the essence. So we've got to make that offer. We don't want it to go pending over the weekend. We want to be, Speedy Gonzalez on the deal, right? So the challenge with that is if we don't have a lender letter, how does the seller, know that everything's good with the buyer and everything's checked out? In this market, in this landscape, we got to watch it, because what happened a couple years ago doesn't mean that we're going to take that offer now. Now, there's several steps that if you're not prepared, you could lose that house that hit the market. So make sure you have a lender letter in hand. And if you have an amount that you're looking for, make sure you know that amount. When in doubt, have the max amount on your pre-approval letter. So if you know you're up to $500,000 or $600,000, make sure you have at least a pre-approval for that. Now, strategically, if you come in, a great way to do it is if you're coming in with an offer, and let's say the house is listed at $500,000 and you're coming in at $475,000, make sure your pre-approval letter shows for $475,000. Don't show that you can, finance more money. Why? Because what is the seller going to say? Oh, they can finance more. Let's raise the price. Good counter, right? So check your pre-approval letters. A lot of lenders can do them on the fly. We have great vendors that can do that and respond on the weekend and pretty much are available. But if you don't, at least have one for the offer price. Now, vice versa, if you're in the 500 range and you're stretching up to maybe 6 or 550, make sure you have a lender letter there, because the seller may not take that offer. Make sure we got good language in the contract that is stressing your opinion or things that are going on. I think presentation, we're in an age of communication and text and email. Nobody really, you guys listen to this radio show. It's like, does anybody listen to radio anymore? I know we do, but doesn't it seem like we're in a society where it's just texting and I guess I'm guilty of this too. I'm voice texting. So we're going down the road and, sometimes probably people wonder, what in the world are you texting? But, we're on the go. We're moving. We got kids, got things going on. And so things are kind of getting less personable, but this is a big move. So very encourage everybody, even other colleagues that are out there, make sure that we're communicating. I work on my kids with that all the time. Communication's key, because, we've got the laptops, iPads. We've got to go in. My daughter was just the other day. It's okay, a little story time. And I made my daughter go in to get an order for to go. She's 10, so she's coming out and trying to communicate. I said, no, honey, you got to go in there and get it. She was like, go online. I said, well, no, it's too late. You got to go on online. And she went in there with the card, and I made her order and do that stuff. So, but communication's key, right? We got to teach them early. But communication's key in deals and in business, right? We get deals done and we get things done by relaying our situation. So important. If I write an offer, I've got a great client that's been relocated to this area. Maybe they're a physician or whatever they're doing in their practice. Maybe been close to family. We just had a great client that sold his house for over 40 years in California and relocated just to be close to their daughter and picked this house out. And it was so important to relate that to the other side if there's another agent involved. Know the history behind that. I can't tell you how many deals get done when the buyer and the seller feel a connection, especially when the seller really likes the buyer, if that makes sense, and they really want to help them. So many times, this last deal we closed, we go through the walkthrough, and the seller leaves the washer and dryer for the buyers. They just something that was not in the contract, and they just did it. Something that they want to do. Welcome to East Tennessee. They're just being kind and wanted to help people. I love it. If it's cash, make sure you have proof of funds. Sometimes you'll do statements. Make sure it shows you got the money. Let's talk about negotiation. That's everything. Should you start low? That is the rule. Always start low. Have room to negotiate. Sometimes you got to come in with your best offer. However, in some circumstances, you may not want to go in with your best offer. So keep those in mind. Let's see here. Sometimes offers are lower. And, you say, well, Ryan, I have agents that I want to make a lower offer. We call them lowball offers, right? Always put an offer in writing. Just remember this. Even if it's lower, may not make sense, but deals are done by putting things in writing. And it's not done by text because we don't want to go put the offer in and do the work. Put the offer in writing. How serious do you know if the buyer is if they don't write up an offer? Put strong escrow. Maybe the number's off. And I think anybody in our business or industry, if you have a great agent on the other side, they're going to say, look, if I get an offer we're going to respond in kind. We're going to make sure that we tell them what we like about the offer and what we don't like about. I can't tell you how many deals that I've got done where somebody else may have not got the deal done because the first offer was just how we talk about negotiating. They're wanting to start low. Hey, it's real estate. It's a deal. And that's where they say, hey, we're going to start low. So if you start low, what do? Is it 5%, 10%? I think the key in negotiation or purchasing in today's market, don't give your financial hand away. Let them know you're qualified. Maybe you have money to pay the difference on an appraisal. Maybe you can pay cash and financing is not an issue. All these things are to be kept close, but when you make a negotiations or you make an offer, these are maybe disclosed at the counteroffer. So keep those in mind. Don't be influenced. I know this comes in, we just talked about a washer and dryer, but don't be influenced by if the seller's leaving some personal items, or washer, or a dryer, or the lawnmower, or those things. Really, those amount to minor things. Now, I know in today's market, every penny counts, but don't let that influence the price that you negotiate on. Remember, you may finance this for 15 or 30 years. A couple $1,000 doesn't seem like that, but $3,000 could turn to $10,000 over a period of a time. I think it's very important as we move forward to always have an agent representing you in this corner. We do this show. I know things have changed over periods of time. Get with a great agent in your corner. I encourage of hiring that agent. If you're going to work with us on the selling side, you're going to sign a contract. If you're going to work with us on the buying side, hey, you're going to sign a contract. Listen, we'll make a commitment to help you and your family move forward. Make sure those terms work for you. Hope you're negotiating well. There's a great opportunity of more inventory in the market now. So happy hunting. Hope you have an amazing season of looking for homes. And we look forward to seeing you back next week. And everybody have an amazing weekend.